Okay, welcome to another Shop Talk. I've just hit 75,000 subscribers. Can't quite believe it. It's absolutely awesome. Didn't seem a long ago when I had just a couple of hundred. Some of you guys are still with me, which I really appreciate. So I've been working on this big slab here. This is for part of a kitchen, set of kitchen tops that I'm doing for somebody. This is about 1.2, 1.3 wide, just over 3 meters long, English ash. I am doing a video on this. This video is going to be a little bit more DIY for people, so not using a pour room, not using any casting tables. This is done in my shop. The reason I've done it here on the floor is because I've got to do quite a bit of work on here on my own, and it is really heavy. I can't flip it over on a table, so I've decided to do this in situ here, keep the shop as dust free as I can, and I'll show you that when it comes. But I've had a few questions. There's obviously a lot of new subscribers, and I've had quite a few questions about this resin, cutting little rebates in the relief grooves in the bottom of the last build. I did put text on there, but I'll explain a bit more now. Okay, so this piece of English walnut here is a very good example of why you would overfill the back, let's say, or the front, whichever way you want to look at it, and leave the resin. So if I made a mold around this piece, you can see it's rocking like that, and it's pretty twisted. Now, if that's the piece you like the top of, there's one option you can do here. Instead of trying to flatten it, which we're going to lose, if we look down here, I would imagine we're going to lose, down that, probably looking to lose maybe 10 mil overall, 5 mil a side, maybe 8 to 10 mil. And that would bring this right down to being quite a thin piece. Now there's another way to do it. You can put this in the mold, and you can see it's rocking like this. Make your mold around it, pour the resin. Now the resin is going to go underneath, and the resin is going to make a perfectly flat bottom if you cast it. You break it out of the mold, and what you find is one side has got resin, not all the way across, because some places where the wood is almost at the edge, once you sand it or finish it, the wood's going to become bare wood again, and you're going to have pockets of resin. And that will actually level off the piece, and it's quite a good way to straighten a buckled slab, even on big tables. It looks really cool. You look down at it, here, there's a gap. Well, that would have resin, and if it was a nice dark resin and that was your thing on here, then when you cast the top, you'll have some resin on the bottom, resin on the top. So that works really well as a feature. The downside is if it's a very wide board and they're not particularly thick, like the spalted beech, is that if you then plane off the top here, so it's back to wood, and oil it, but on the underside, you've got huge sections of resin. When the wood expands and contracts, even if it only expands and contracts slightly, the resin is fixed. So the resin covers the bottom like this section and the wood section on the top. And what you find is, not always, but what can happen, as the wood tries to expand and contract, instead of moving like that, the resin holds it, and it tends to cup down or cup up on the resin. So a trick around this, as you saw on there, I've got this amazing cutter from Tipman Tools, unbelievable, perfect point cut, and it's a replaceable knife, which is handy. What you can do is set your router and cut relief grooves in the wood. And what that does is the relief groove cuts through the resin. So if you imagine you had resin, I don't know, 2 millimeters, and you do a 3 mil V, you've now got wood, which in that relief groove, you're going to get movement. And instead of it pushing and pulling on the resin, which is a fixed surface, resin is almost like this. It doesn't want to expand and contract. So what it does is it holds the length. So that length is that long. And what happens is it does this. Whereas the length of the resin stays the same, and the movement is like that. So by putting a groove through there and then oiling it, you still get the appearance of having the full thickness of the slab, but you have the ability to have movement. And that is why I cut those grooves. Again, I thought I'd explained it on the text as the video's running, I'm sure you'll see, but some people didn't quite get it. So hopefully that answers that question. It also occurred to me, I'm getting questions about what to use on the top, what finishes I'm using. So what I'm going to do is On this video, I'm going to put a playlist at the end that I've put together of my old videos, which I believe covers everything you need to know about how I work with resin and wood. If there's anything you think I've missed once you've watched this video, and if you can bear to do it, all the videos in the playlist, comment on this video if there's still some questions that you think I've not answered, because I really think I've covered everything I do, and I try to shoot nearly every part of it. As you also know, if you're really into this stuff and you want everything unedited almost, over the camera, over the shoulder style, then my Patreon page is the one for you, and there's more depth there. At the end of this video, there'll be a link to the playlist. Please watch that. That should answer all your resin questions. Thanks so much for watching. See you all next time.